Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. We're here with an in-depth tactical analysis of the Premier League clash between Liverpool and Arsenal at Anfield. Klopp and Emery tested their wits against each other, and in the end, the match ended 3-1 to Liverpool thanks to goals by Matip, Salah and Torreira. Both managers used interesting tactics, so let's take a look at them. And if you notice anything else, drop it in the comments below. Just before we get into that though, if you're new around here, I'd appreciate it if you liked, commented and subscribed. If you want to see more match reviews, player and manager profiles, and so much more. Drop video suggestions below or tweet at Football Made Simple. Now, let's get into it. Liverpool lined up in a 4-3-3, sticking to a trusted formula. Arsenal pivoted slightly, using a 4-3-1-2 formation, and at the end of the video, we'll look at what they could have done differently during the match. But let's look at what Liverpool did on the ball. The pattern of the game was set pretty much from the first minute. Liverpool's 4-3-3 gave them natural width, and Arsenal chose to line up in a 4-3-1-2. And just from this, it's clear that Liverpool would have the numerical advantage. Arsenal sat deep and were not particularly high pressing, but they recognized that Fabinho was a key outlet when playing out from the back, as he drops to receive the ball. As a result, Ceballos was instructed to tie him up to prevent the ball progression, which he often did. However, Liverpool would often drop Wijnaldum alongside Fabinho in order to provide an option, whilst Henderson pushed high, giving their midfield more of a 2-1 shape. In the same breath, the Liverpool fullbacks would advance, meaning that Arsenal's wide midfielders would have to keep their eyes on them as opposed to joining the press. In fact, this is something that they struggled with. Putting pressure on the ball was hard because if they attempted to push up in the shape, their wings would be vulnerable, as Liverpool wingers often moved into the inside forward positions to tie up the fullbacks, so their offensive shape looked more like a 2-4-1-3. But to create more space on the wings, where they already had an advantage, they would shift their team to one side during the build-up, often the right. Because of their narrow shape, it meant Willock would have to shift wide to assist with covering Salah and Trent, and Xhaka and Guendouzi would follow suit to stitch the resulting gap in the midfield. Ceballos would be on Fabinho, whilst the two forwards would shift across to press. This meant that time and again, Robertson would find himself with half the pitch after the switch. As a result, when it was switched, he would attack the wings and look for a cross. Guendouzi did well, often shifting to the right to cover, as Mane dragged Maitland-Niles centrally. Often Guendouzi managed to do this, but constantly having to shuttle is tiring, meaning that at times Robertson would be able to get his cross in unchallenged. If Mane drifted central for the cross, they were also comfortable moving Firmino or Wijnaldum wide to form this overload. A similar pattern occurred on the right with Alexander-Arnold. When they attacked the right, it was often a slightly slower build-up through the midfield. As Arsenal had the numerical advantage, Firmino would often drop deep, occupying an extra Arsenal midfielder. Salah would then drift into the inside space as well, resulting in a central overload, so Arsenal would have to compensate for this. As a result, Alexander-Arnold was free to cross as well. The prominence of Liverpool's wide tactics are shown by the fullbacks attempting the most crosses, and being top 5 for total passes during the match. But it's fair to say that this was Arsenal's strategy, being willing to give up the wings and use their narrow shape to win the crosses. And despite the scoreline, one could say that this strategy worked for the most part, not conceding directly through this manner, rather two set pieces outdoing them. Their open play conceded goal came when they were 2-0 down and had to press much higher. Where they would have previously been compact, Monreal had to press Henderson, and Luiz chased out Salah and was easily turned, resulting in a 1-on-1. But Arsenal's main attacking threat came on the transition. With Liverpool committing numbers in attack, there were massive gaps left behind the fullbacks, which they would try to attack using direct transitions. After winning the ball, Ceballos would drop deep to give Arsenal the numbers in midfield, to try and find a free man as they had a 4-on-3 in the middle. This would often result in one of them playing a ball into the channels for Aubameyang and Pepe to run onto, and isolate their centre-backs, which would lead to chances such as Pepe's near 1-versus-1 against Adrian. But how about in controlled possession? What did they do? while they wanted to play out from the goal kick. However, Liverpool would press extremely high early on and would win the ball high up the pitch. But as the match went on, Arsenal found success behind the fullbacks. It meant that as a result, Liverpool's midfield was less willing to press, instead trying to shield the pass into the forwards. As a result, when Arsenal played through the front three's press, it left them with more space in the midfield region, as they dropped into a double pivot of Xhaka and Guendouzi to build out, or if the Liverpool fullbacks stayed deep, the Arsenal fullbacks then had the space to play up the pitch. But the reality of their tactics meant that it was harder for them to support Aubameyang and Pepe in good time, meaning that the primary option was attempted through balls behind Liverpool's high line, even in scenarios where it wasn't on. And often Van Dijk and Matip were able to stagger themselves well against the forward, meaning that they could win the ball easily. The forwards were isolated as shown by Aubameyang having the least touches of the Arsenal starters. Unfortunately for Arsenal, that was what most of their attacks were, as they only had 9 shots to Liverpool's 25, and Liverpool had an XG of 2.45 to Arsenal's 0.9. Could Arsenal have done anything differently? It could be argued that their tactics worked, but would dropping Pepe or Ceballos when defending to form a 4-4-1-1 been more effective? This could have prevented the wide overloads while still allowing a key link player for the quick transition. But what would you have done differently? Let us know in the comments below. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.